I had no idea. Like I had an idea, but had no idea how important hormones were. I ate 10 plates of food. 10 plates of food. And the waitress came and she was like, "You've had like 10 plates." I'm like, "I know, I'm starving." Meanwhile, I didn't realize it was just my hormones were just screaming at me, trying to tell me, "Hey, we have a problem here. Like, you need to address this." So my body was like, "F you, I'm not doing this. I can't make a baby because there's a famine in the land. And until you get out of this famine, there's no way that I'm hosting a baby." To tell me that I will never have children, they don't know my God. They don't. Look at Sarah and Abraham. She was in her 90s when she had her first child. And I think simplifying things and getting to the bare bones basics of what do we actually need to eat to not only survive but to thrive, that's kind of where I go with it. I'm like, you can always go back to what you were doing previous to carnivore, though chances are you're going to feel so good you're not going to want to go back.
Well, my friends, today I am thrilled to be joined by someone who's not only living the meat-based lifestyle, but also helping others transform their lives through it. Please welcome Rochelle LaCourte, Christian wife, mama, and health coach behind Real Life Carnivore. Welcome, Rochelle. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to see you. It's been a while.
I know. I mean, we obviously see each other online through different coaching and things like that you're doing it. And it is great to be spending time with you. And I hear there's a little one in the background, which we're blessed to welcome on the show in some way.
Thank you.
And maybe we could jump in and let's get started with your story. You've overcome so much: infertility, disordered eating, insomnia, depression, anxiety. Can you take us back to what life was like before carnivore and what led you to this way of eating?
Absolutely. Okay, great questions. And yes, I have overcome a slew of issues. I would say the biggest one, and it all kind of culminated and ties into one, was infertility. I had no idea. Like I had an idea, but had no idea how important hormones were. I used to be a competitive bodybuilder. I used to compete in Canada, and I actually made it to the national level, qualified for the Arnold competition, which is like a really big deal if you're Canadian to qualify to go to the US. Wow. But I just didn't feel like I could keep going. I really struggled with disordered eating at that point. I actually kind of self-sabotaged for that national show because I just was starving. I was starving. I didn't know I was starving, and I was starving. I remember going to the competition. It was in Edmonton, Alberta, and they have this big, beautiful hotel. It's the Fairmont McDonald, it's called. And that was where the Queen would stay when she would go. So the food is going to be top notch. The service is going to be top notch. Everything's going to be perfect. I ate 10 plates of food. 10 plates of food. And the waitress came and she was like, "Can I get you anything?" And I was like, "No, I'm about to hit the dessert bar." And she's like, "You've had like 10 plates. I'm like, "I know, I'm starving." Meanwhile, I didn't realize it was just my hormones were just screaming at me, trying to tell me, "Hey, we have a problem here. Like, you need to address this." So fast forward a few years later, 2019, I meet the love of my life, my beautiful husband, Jerome. And as soon as I met him, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I want to have children with this guy. I want to have 10 kids with this guy. Like, how can I make this happen?" Long story short, we tried for 4 years unsuccessfully. We went through fertility diagnosis. They told us that we were both completely infertile, but they couldn't tell us why. For him, they were able to tell him why. But for me, they were like, "You have a period." Yeah, I have a pituitary tumor, a benign pituitary tumor that's causing 2 types of PCOS. But they never told me I was insulin resistant. They never told me, that I needed to get things in alignment. They never told me that I had Hashimoto's, which I was recently diagnosed with, which kind of ticked me off because I didn't go carnivore to get a new diagnosis.
Right.
Yeah. Can you hear him?
Oh yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
It's all right. We're living a life with moms and dads and families and children, and it's what it's all really about. So, I think we're all getting the beauty of the reason that we're doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just recently also got diagnosed with hypothyroidism. So how we came to Carnivore was October 2nd, 2022. My husband had heard that it could help with chronic pain. He was having chronic elbow pain. And I came across Kelly Hogan's story, and she told, I didn't resonate necessarily with losing tons of weight, but I was like, she was able to have 3 successful, healthy pregnancies and breastfeed those kids. I was like, whatever she did, I want to do it. I was all in at that point, and I've been all in ever since. It's almost been 3 years Carnivore. I am 37 weeks pregnant with our second baby, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Honestly, I would not trade. I would do it all over again a million times if it meant the same results. And I'm just so grateful for all of the help that this community has provided. Bella and the Steak and Butter Gang, Dr. Bright, she actually helped me figure out why I continually miscarry. And now that's my goal. So my goal when I came to Carnivore was to be able to get pregnant and have a baby. Now with the hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, it's to get pregnant and stay pregnant without needing a supplement. So that's my new goal now, but I'm happy, I'm healthy. I have, a second child on the way, and I just couldn't be more grateful.
All right. If you're not a member of the Mighty Tribe yet, you must, right? Just go to Kiltz's Mighty Tribe and become a member. It's free. The whole intention is to bring the community of all humans to learn why this is better than this. And we invite all vegans and vegetarians, Mediterraneans, and carnivarians to Kiltz's Mighty Tribe. It's a meetup. It's a place to learn while you've been suffering likely from this, and you'll feel better on this. But what are the nuances of what you can do to feel better, look better, and live better? Because I've done it. And that's why I created the Mighty Tribe, to bring you into the masterclass. Be the master, my friends, and join Kiltz's Mighty Tribe. God bless. So when you go back, the question is, well, why were you having problems? And have we really been able to pinpoint this idea that somehow there were some inflammatory processes that either touched your hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid, adrenals, ovaries, tubes, and uterus, and or even on the side of your husband, where it may have affected the same organ systems and or the testicles and affected the sperm production or function in some ways.
When I started working with Dr. Bright, she explained to me that the benign pituitary tumor was causing one type of PCOS that I had. My level markers for insulin and blood sugar and all that kind of stuff, that was causing the other type of PCOS. So 2 types of plant-caused ovarian syndrome, as you like to call it, to do with the fact that I just held my body at such a low percentage of body fat for such a long time. I was in a chronic state of stress. My body was like, F you, I'm not doing this. I can't make a baby because there's a famine in the land. And until you get out of this famine, there's no way that I'm hosting a baby.
What was your diet? Well, prior to meeting your husband, and obviously during the time when you were initially trying to get pregnant? I
mean, it wasn't the worst diet. It wasn't 100% standard American diet, but it was a pretty rough diet. I ate a lot of meat, a lot of carbs. I did not eat a lot of animal fats because, fat is not good for you and fat makes you fat. And I ate a ton of junk food because I was a chronic restrictive binge eater. So I would restrict all day, drink coffee all day, get through the day. And then at nighttime, I would be ravenous. I would eat my meal and then I would just pig out on junk food, like boxes of Oreos, bags of chips, whatever the thing was, candy, it's just just trash, like total trash. I turned myself into a garbage disposal and treated myself as such. And then of course, the blood sugar roller coaster, none of that was helpful, but that's what it looked like.
As a bodybuilder in that world, what was your focus on diet at that time besides the workout, exercise, and working to be lean?
Okay, so when I first started, the coach that I worked with, she had me on a more ketogenic style diet. I was still allowed to have some carbs, but she limited them, which I think was helpful. But she also put me on no fat at all. So it was chicken breasts and green beans for 6 meals a day, which is disgusting.
Wow.
And then my second coach that I had that took me to the national level, he still included some carbs, but he included more fat as well, just to try and give me a better balance. He prioritized making sure that my cycle stayed. He said, if your cycle disappears, you have to tell me right away. I got down below 12% body fat.
The mission of bodybuilding is to show the muscle, and fat hides the muscle, even though you may have it underneath there. And I like to say plants are all carbs. And essentially, the majority of our diets have been plant protein, low fat, which is kind of the same in the bodybuilding world. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are. The fact that it was a low fat diet may have been the cause of much of the inflammation to the hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid, adrenals, ovaries, and that might have been the cause of most disease.
Yeah, I would say so. I would agree. Honestly, it was a huge problem for me. As soon as I cut those foods out, suddenly I started feeling better. Suddenly I started sleeping at night. Who would have thought you sleep through the night when you eat the right foods? Like, I just thought insomnia was normal. I thought chronic crippling arthritic pain in your 30s was normal. You know, I'm like, I'm probably going to be in a wheelchair by the time I'm 50 because I can't move. That's just normal. It's just normal. That's not normal. It's not normal at all.
I don't know what you know of the longevity of bodybuilders and or the other diseases related to bodybuilding world. It's not necessarily the healthiest world, is it?
No, I would say not. And I would say, I would even venture as far as to be as bold in saying that most of the ladies who compete often have hidden eating disorders, because you cannot live your life being that lean all the time. Like, your hormones will take over every single time. I can tell you about all the times where I woke up with a jar of peanut butter in my bed because I binge ate through my sleep. I slept walk, went into the fridge, grabbed a jar of peanut butter, ate the whole thing, woke up with it in my bed because I was starving.
Well, so that wouldn't be pathologic to a human working to survive. That would be normal. So in fact, our pathology is a low-fat diet. How many meals a day did you say that recommended?
We were doing about 6 meals. So it was like 3 full meals and then 2 smaller meals or 2 snacks plus a post-workout shake.
Right. So you were consuming mostly plant protein, low fat for 3 to 6 times a day, which meant your gut was always in the process of feeding the microbes. And I'm just wondering about your experience about bloating, GERD, gas, and how those sort of things may have been common in that diet you were on.
Yeah, I definitely had a ton of bloating. Obviously, I had a ton of inflammation. I just thought it was just normal. I was like, oh, well, people eat salads all the time and they're just going to have to fart all the time. It was kind of embarrassing. The other thing is I ended up with SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. That was nasty to get rid of. I don't even remember what the nutritionist took me through, but I remember she put me on a low protein, semi-vegan diet for about 4 weeks. And I was so chronically core cold and I just couldn't function anymore. And she was like, okay, I think you need to start eating meat again. And I was like, yeah, I think so. I don't think I can survive on portobello mushroom burgers. Like, that's just not what I can do.
So what were your, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Again, the colon is where most of the bacteria, yeast, and viruses live, which is another bad thing, in my opinion. What type of symptoms did you have from the SIBO? How did they approach it? And what was your solution finally to heal it?
So I got SIBO long before I ever considered carnivore. I constantly had an upset stomach. I constantly had gas. I constantly had to use the toilet, undigested food all of the time, gas, rumbling, pain. It was really awful. And like I said, I don't quite remember what treatment she put me on for it, but there was something she put me on and it cleared it up after a few weeks. But it was really embarrassing because I would be working and I would have to excuse myself to go to the washroom every 15 minutes because I couldn't keep anything in. I couldn't keep anything in my system. It just in the mouth, out the butt.
And SIBO is very common. IBS, colitis, Crohn's, colon cancer is on the rise, younger and younger ages today. The general healthy diet that we're told to eat, can you share that?
The general healthy diet. It's a food pyramid that is just incorrect as far as I'm concerned. The smallest amount of food that they want you to eat is the meat and the fat, and the majority of what they want you to eat is fibrous vegetables and carbohydrates. And to me, it is a recipe for disaster. Some people can get away with eating a small amount of carbs, maintain a moderate level of ketosis, and feel great. Dr. Ken Berry talks about how the spectrum is 0 to 100 grams of carbs. I don't know many people who can eat 100 grams of carbs and feel great, but there are people who feel better with it, and that's fine. But for me, meat, animal fat, and then that's it. Those are the two things that I need to sustain my life and the life of this baby.
So as your first child, and you had miscarriages before that?
3. I've had 3 total.
And what do you espouse the miscarriages to?
So, well, according to Dr. Bright, she said that it is a byproduct of a low functioning thyroid. And it's probably part of the problem. The other problem was probably stress, low functioning adrenals, and just too much inflammation in my body. Like my body was so highly inflamed. Like I even look at pictures of my face pre-carnivore and I'm like, oh, wow, I look completely different. Like my eyes were puffy and swollen. I had allergies all the time. I was like, who wants to walk around looking like that? I don't miss that.
Here's my simple theory. The bugs in the bowels infect the vagina, which infect the cervix and then uterus and tubes and ovaries. So really, pelvic inflammatory disorder, or PID, is rampant in women, although it's subclinical. They don't know it. And so bacteria, yeast, and viruses aren't sitting around just standing where they're at. They're moving, and they go out the rectum, anus, into the vagina, infect the cervix, uterus, and endometritis is the leading killer of babies. And early and late losses and infertility are all related to pelvic inflammatory disorder, which is essentially a SIBO or IBS or Crohn's or colitis and all those things, if that makes any sense.
Inflammation, basically.
Right on. But it's the bacteria, yeast, and viruses that are main killers, because if you look around the world, aren't the microbes kind of killing many things and damaging many things? And it might be as simple as a plant-based, protein-based diet is feeding the microbes in the gut, which proliferate the microbes, and they go out the rectum, anus, into the vagina in women, and they go up the esophagus in all of us. They infect the upper and lower respiratory systems. And for women, they also go into the bladder. For men, the same thing. They cause chronic UTIs. They cause pyelonephritis, and they cause systemic infections and death in many women because of this. And I believe that the inflammation of the female reproductive system causes fibroids, polyps, ovarian dysfunction, cysts, and the list goes on and on and on, because we're eating a low-fat diet, and fat rarely molds or doesn't mold. And if you ate a high animal fat diet, rare to raw, you would suppress the microbes in your gut, which would suppress the microbes in your vagina, cervix, uterus, tubes, and ovaries. And it might be as simple as that, because we make complicated ideas. And then secondly, the goitrogenic foods, look up goitrogenic foods. They're known to damage the thyroid gland, which causes generalized thyroid dysfunction, enlargement, cysts, tumors, precancer, and cancer. So what if those same goitrogenic foods, along with the bacteria, yeast, and viruses, actually attack every cell and organ system of our body and cause the same disorders? And it really is Occam's razor simplicity. Plant chemicals, antigens, sugars, and the microbes and the products of fermentation in the gut damage every cell of our body. And that's it.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting theory, and I do think you're onto something in the sense that sugar in any form, whether it's excess meat or plants or carbs or actual sugar, I think can exacerbate those issues. I think there's a lot of push for people to use probiotics and fermented foods and all that kind of stuff. And that was part of the problem for me with developing SIBO. Was I lived on kombucha, fermented drinks, all that stuff, which is, again, plants in a sugary form. And what do those microbes feed on? They feed on the sugar from the fermentation. So Here I am feeding these microbes in my gut fermented sugar and expecting them to die. And no, they're not going to die.
Right. And amino acids from proteins are fermentable, and essentially a cooked meat and low fat meat is not good for humanity. And that's been one of our problems, because I imagine 50,000 years ago when we hunt and killed the animal, we didn't wait for the cook. You ate the whole thing, including the organ meats, the blood, the bone marrow, and you ate all the white stuff called the fat.
I love the fat.
It's the best. What were some of your biggest challenges you noticed physically, mentally, and emotionally throughout this transition from a standard diet to a keto diet to a carnivore diet?
Great question. Honestly, I would say my sugar addiction and my binge eating disorder were my biggest struggles. And not having a community that first month, my husband and I just tried to do it ourselves. And I told him, I said, I just feel like I need to find a community. I came across Bella and I was like, oh, for $30 for a month, I can go in, learn what I can, see how things go. And it was the community that really helped kind of propel me forward and push me harder than I would have pushed myself probably, to make sure that I was sticking to things. The other thing I think was a really big hurdle for me to overcome was just the mindset around it. The first time I heard Bella say, oh, when you get hungry or if you feel like you want something sweet or whatever, just have a bite of butter, I was like, I don't know if I can do that. And now sometimes I eat 4 sticks of butter a day, which is a pound. And it just tastes good. My body enjoys it. Like my brain is on fire. It's working. My digestion is great. I have really clear skin. I can't argue with the results anymore. Anytime I try and reintroduce something happens. And I'm like, I don't care to reintroduce stuff anymore. I feel best eating this way and I'm going to keep eating this way.
The communities to me is also the plus, because we're meeting so many amazing people, all different backgrounds, essentially realizing that we need to make changes in the world. Tell me a little bit about your coaching and your participation in the communities, and how important that is for you personally, and any particular stories how you've seen the benefits for others.
Great question. Okay. So I've been a health and wellness coach since 2019, and Carnivore just kind of opened the door for me. I've had nutritional training in the past. I've worked with bodybuilders. I've worked with athletes. I've worked with regular people. But Carnivore just takes things to the next level. Being in community is everything. You know that. You have a wonderful, thriving community as well. And I love listening to your talks in the morning. Even though I don't get up for them, I like to listen to them.
Thank you.
4:30 in the morning is a little early for me, but they're fruitful. I learned something. I get to plug into community. It's helpful for me. It's supportive for me. Some of the things that I have seen people overcome are, this woman is just flashing in my brain right now. When I first met her in the community, she was on oxygen. She was in a wheelchair, and just like a slew of issues. She was on GLP-1s and having issues with her blood sugars and all this kind of stuff. She is now off her oxygen. She is off the GLP-1s. Her blood sugar is actually balancing. Who would have thought eating meat and fat would do that? And she's just feeling better. She's able to get up. She's able to move around. And I'm like, this is so cool. There are stories of men who, were unable to walk. Suddenly they're able to walk again. Even my own story, with my husband and stuff, him overcoming that chronic crippling arthritic pain in his elbows.
Yeah.
The guy couldn't do anything without being in pain. And now he's back to enjoying his life. It only took, 2-3 months. And he's like, I don't have any pain anymore. Wow. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have pain anymore? What a blessing.
That's amazing. And the coming into the communities and helping inspire people. Tell me a little bit about how does it make you feel when you sort of just directly in the community, so many people are showing up and telling their stories. Because I know in so many ways it's such a bright light to come together with our brothers and sisters and hearing those stories.
Absolutely. It keeps me inspired. It keeps me going. It keeps me encouraged. It keeps me wanting to participate. It also keeps me wanting to share the message that this is super helpful. I even have some friends from back home that were like, I was thinking of trying that. And a couple of ladies did. And they're like, I can't believe how good I feel. I'm like, I know. Who would have thought? You eat the meat, you eat the fat that God made, and suddenly you feel great. I know God made the plants, but the Bible says we don't have to eat them anymore. So
Yeah. Yeah. I know you're Christian
Mhm,
and faith is powerful. I focus a lot on that in my life. I think it's the
mhm,
top notch. Tell
mhm.
me a little bit how faith and family has helped in your drive and direction to help others.
Well, I honestly believe that nothing happens without God's permission. And I truly believe that He led us to carnivore because when we were told that we were completely infertile, I was like, first of all, we must have missed something. And second of all, to tell me that I will never have children, they don't know my God. They don't. Look at Sarah and Abraham. She was in her 90s when she had her first child and was a mother of many nations. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to be 90 years old still having children, but you know, God's timing is perfect, and I think He brought us down from Canada here to Texas to show us what we needed to do differently. We started the carnivore journey, and I mean, family is everything. Like I said, I would do this over a million times if it means the same result, if it means the same beautiful little boy and baby in my belly. I would do it all over again without a question.
How was your last pregnancy?
It was really good. I know a lot of ladies complain about morning sickness and being uncomfortable. Yeah, there were moments where I was uncomfortable at the end because there's no room for the little baby, and the little baby wants to stretch out every now and again. But I think I had one afternoon for like an hour. You can see a little hand there. He's nursing. I had one afternoon for maybe like an hour where I kind of felt a little bit nauseated. But other than that,
Yeah.
it was smooth sailing. I did have some meat aversions, an egg aversion during my first and second pregnancy, but I just choose the meats that sound good to me. So if beef doesn't sound good, I eat bacon. If bacon doesn't sound good, I eat chicken. I just find creative ways to eat the food.
So throughout your pregnancy, what was your diet?
Oh, primarily BB, and E with some ice cream, some Kiltz's ice cream.
So I call it the baby's diet:
Yeah,
bacon,
the
eggs,
baby's
butter,
diet.
beef. The babies. Didn't your doctor like say, "Hey, listen, you need some vegetables and fiber"? And tell me how you went through that.
Okay, so I didn't have a doctor for my pregnancy. I worked with a midwife only. I am old school. I didn't have a single ultrasound. I did everything old school, like what they were doing 200 years ago and in Bible times. Like that's what I was doing.
Love
And
it, love it, love it.
most people probably freak out like, you didn't get an ultrasound? It's like, no, like they didn't have that technology, 100 years ago. Why do I need that now? I trust the Lord's plan, and if His plan is for me to have this baby, I will have this baby. But yeah, the baby's diet is definitely helpful. I did see a doctor right before I got pregnant, and his only concern was not getting enough vitamin C. He was like, "You're going to need vitamin C," and I was
Mm.
like, "Okay, I'll look into that. Thanks." That was the only tip he gave me. So he was not against it, but he was not for it.
Do you ever wonder if the discovery of vitamins was a little bit like the discovery of statins?
Hmm.
Created a science to convince us our diseases are vitamin deficiencies. And if you just take this vitamin, you'll be fine. But
Hmm.
in fact, it has nothing to do with deficiencies. It has to do with plant poisoning, inflammation, and the microbes that cause disease. And then we do a measurement, like we measure cholesterol and LDL and HDL and VLDL and all those other things, and we claim, this doesn't look good. You need this drug. And I'm just wondering if vitamins might fall under the same possible science.
Well, I think it kind of makes sense because if you're highly inflamed, depending on where the inflammation is, if it's all through your body, if it's in certain systems, whatever, how is your body supposed to break down and digest what you're eating? Then, if you compound that by eating highly inflammatory foods high in oxalates, things that your body should not be having to try and break down because it's just too difficult for it, or maybe it's not an optimal way for you to eat, then you can't expect your body to perform in any capacity. And I think, again, you mentioned the microbes and such. If you're eating a high carb, processed, or highly plant-based diet, chances are your gut microbiome is going to be all over the place. You might have SIBO, you might have IBS, you might have colitis, you might have yeast overgrowth like candida. Like there's just too many factors. Yeah, there are just too many factors. And I think simplifying things and getting to the bare bones basics of what do we actually need to eat to not only survive, but to thrive. That's kind of where I go with it. I'm like, meat and fat, the native peoples, meat and fat, Eskimos, meat and fat. And these people are not vitamin deficient. They're not vitamin deficient. So if you want your body to uptake vitamins, get them from animal sources, because those are the most bioavailable. They are the ones that are the precursors for our sex hormones. And just watch your inflammation go away. Watch your body heal. Watch yourself get pregnant or, become fertile again. Watch your chronic pain go away. Watch your digestive issues go away. Watch your brain heal. Like you've heard the story of what's his name there from Healing Humanity. He had like that traumatic brain injury and his brain.
Oh, yeah. Adam Lacey.
I'm like, hello, that stuff doesn't just happen because it happened. It happened because he put himself into ketosis and he healed his body. The body can heal itself.
What poisons come from ribeye steak?
I don't know of any. I don't know.
Zero, right? Yeah. Do you think that there's a conspiracy here to keep us sick, or are we all basically sick and our brains can't see the truth?
That's a good question, and it's probably not a conspiracy.
We're all just our brains, right? We're all addicted to plants, heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, caffeine. We're so addicted. It's how many smokers like deny tobacco's problems, or Coke drinkers or alcohol drinkers. We're deny because even though we know that tobacco's bad, that alcohol's bad, we're unwilling to give it up. So the same thing kind of falls within the plant world. Oh, they might be a little bit bad, but they're not that bad.
Yeah. I mean, when you put it in terms like that, it makes sense. I guess somebody could argue, well, meat and fat in excess is not good for you, but I have yet to see a study on it. I haven't seen a study on it.
The last I looked, wolves, lions, and bears, polar bears for sure. Like, I don't think they worry about eating more raw fatty meat. Well, what other animal cooks their meat?
None that I know of. Monkeys can't even do it.
Is it possible that cooked meat may damage the meat, eliminate the fat because it melts away, and that might be another contributing factor to many of our diseases, because it creates a low-fat diet and it glycates. It causes advanced glycation end products, which may add to inflammation. And for many of the carnivores, they may be missing the benefit of carnivore diet because they're eating a cooked low-fat diet.
Yeah, I would say there's definitely some merit and truth to that. The more cooked your meat is, the more the protein is actually broken down in it. And I mean, there's a reason why when you go on a healing protocol with certain practitioners, they recommend steak over ground meat, because you're losing so many of the water-soluble vitamins when you're cooking that ground beef. And because most people think that ground beef has to be cooked through because that's the recommendation. I like my steak rare or blue rare. I really do. Yeah. As long as it's warm in the middle and it still has a pulse. That's how I like to eat.
I go cold. I go a black and blue. I take a cold steak, put it under the fire in a pan, catch the fat, but then I eat most of the fat. It's all raw anyway.
Yeah.
I think when you cook meat, especially medium well, I mean, you're killing and you're breaking down the molecules that are critical for our building blocks of our body. It's kind of like setting fire to your house and then thinking you use all those products in order to build a new house. You can't do it. Mm-hmm. Burnt wood doesn't do very, very well.
No, it's not structurally sound.
So you're currently carnivore, obviously breastfeeding, you're pregnant, And let's talk a little bit about that and your little one's diet. And is a proper human diet, as our good friend Ken Berry likes to say, an appropriate diet for a mom to be, a pregnant mom, a lactating mom, and also the baby after it's breastfed.
100%. Absolutely. I have no bones about it. So a big push for me, not only to choose and prioritize animal-based meals in general. That's not to say now that he's over a year, I don't let him have a strawberry now and again, you know what I mean? But we always prioritize meat and animal fats, and he's great about it. A big push for me was to make sure that my child's jaw develops properly, because I don't want him to have issues with a restricted airway. I don't want him to have poor facial development. You know, maybe that sounds a little conceited, but I want my child to be attractive, and I want him to be healthy, and I want him to be able to break down food. And so I give him difficult to chew foods, steaks. When he was teething, I would give him frozen rib bones that were cooked. I never shy away from letting him have a butter popsicle. I literally take a stick of butter, put a popsicle stick in it, put it in the freezer, and he will go to town on that thing. He loves it. He loves it. I think it's the best way forward. It is nutrient dense. It is complete with all of the vitamins and minerals that you need, except for maybe some salt. And I can't argue with how I feel. Like I said, I can't argue with how I feel. I've been able to maintain a milk supply while being pregnant and, you know, nourish 2 babies. I'm supporting 3 lives right now, my own and my 2 children, which I never thought I could do that. And I hear of so many tragic stories of women who are like, oh, I want to do carnivore, but I can't because my milk supply goes away. And it's like, you're probably under eating. And you probably need more skin to skin time with your baby. Those are the 2 main things. It's milk supply is supply and demand. It's not just what you're eating. It's also supply and demand. So if your baby is at the breast, let them nurse. Let them nurse. You cannot overnurse a baby. A baby will not nurse if they do not want to nurse. And I can tell you, this is the 3rd time he's been on.
and tell me about, well, wait a minute. So you were breastfeeding when you got pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
And did you slow down or change? And you got pregnant naturally?
Yeah, I got pregnant naturally. We had one miscarriage, and then I got pregnant again. Like I said, I didn't know that I was hypothyroid, so I had to start taking. It's called Vitex chasteberry, whatever. It helps boost progesterone because I don't like the compounded stuff. It makes me really sick. But I took that, and you know, I'm 37 weeks in and still breastfeeding this little guy. He mostly just nurses for comfort and for naps, but he's still nursing. So
you're still making plenty of milk out of that breast, that he's getting some proper human nutrition, which is breast milk,
which is very fatty and loaded with protein.
protein, fats, and glycans, sugars, which are critical for nutrition. My theory is sugars are in all cells of all animals, and that we eat sugar whenever you eat fat, meat, or plants. They're all there. Gluconeogenesis, I think, is wrong, and is our primary source of sugars. We get it from our adipose tissue. And my bet is you're not, let's see, what was your leanest as a bodybuilder?
Oh, geez. Probably like 9 or 10% body fat.
And in general, right. So if you have 20% body fat, that means adipose tissue, because we should look at it like muscle tissue, organ tissue, bone tissue, brain tissue, but also adipose tissue.
Mm-hmm.
An adipose cell contains fatty acids, amino acids, and simple sugars. It contains minerals and vitamins. And so the sugars that come from the cells of your adipose tissue, what are they doing? They're providing the sugars for glycosylation, but the only fuel for the mitochondria is actually fatty acids from acetyl-CoA, which is not sugar. We do not have metabolic flexibility. There's no such thing because it makes no sense. And that's kind of an interesting thing that I want to talk more about in our communities, because glycosylation, the glycobiome, we're missing in general. No one's talking about it. What role do you think our new methodology of online coaching and medical advice in a very loose term when I say that, because ultimately we're all sharing medical ideas for health and wellness, and social media. Tell me what you think the real power of this media is.
I think it's the access to people. I wouldn't have access to you if I was just on a dinosaur phone, in my home. Like the fact that I have access to the internet, the fact that I have access to a community, your community and those types of things, it makes a huge difference, because now not only do you get to hear my story and my testimony, but you get to hear thousands of others. And I think the more we allow those voices to be heard, the more awareness gets brought about it. And I think there's a lot of skepticism still about carnivore. I think a lot of people are still afraid of it. The media has done a really good job of demonizing meat, and, everybody's freaking out now about all the mRNA vaccines that they're trying to administer to cattle and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I don't worry about that crap. It's just, I want to see people get better. I want to see people walking again. I want to see people reclaiming their fertility. I want to see people, even in their old age, just enjoying their lives and not being in pain, being able to chase around their grandkids.
I'm about to turn 70 and I've never felt better. I typically eat one meal a day. I'm currently on a 15-day fast. I'm on day 11. I've completed 11 days, no food. It is freaking crazy. I feel amazing. I'm not hungry. My glucose is in the 60 to 90. Insulin is less than 1, and it's quite radical. We overeat anyway. And I think one meal a day is more than we need. And I think this is really, really important. Maybe you tell us a little bit about your fasting and feeding windows, how often you eat, what do you eat, and what's your go-to meals?
Great question. So I had some experience fasting prior to, because I was a restrictive binge eater. I just never called it fasting. But now I know that that's what I was doing, intermittent fasting. I actually used a 7-day fast to cause my body to start ovulating again, because I was anovulatory for many, many years. And fasting was very instrumental in that. Currently, I mean, pregnancy is kind of all over the place. Some days I'm ravenous. Other days I'm like, I don't really want to eat that much. So I go anywhere. I don't usually go less than 3 meals, just because I want to make sure I'm eating enough to support my body, to support my baby, to support my toddler on the breast. But yeah, a typical day of eating for me would be like 4 to 6 scrambled eggs and probably 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter with a side of bacon. I might have a snack, a little bit more bacon, or I might have some steak strips or a carnivore bar. And I'll have lunch, which could be any sort of meat. So I call it a turkey bacon bowl. So I had like turkey sausage that I cooked up and mixed some bacon in it, and had a little mustard on the side. I know mustard is not carnivore, but it just worked for me. Then I'll have, maybe some cheese or something in the afternoon. And then dinner is usually like a very meat heavy, fat heavy meal. So that way I can sleep through the night and not wake up hungry, because that's been a thing. When your body needs nourishment, it needs nourishment. But that's kind of a typical day of eating. I wouldn't say that I'm doing much fasting right now. It just doesn't feel appropriate for me, but I know I can. But most mornings I wake up pretty hungry and ready to eat.
Do you think fasting is a good tool in a human lifestyle that may help people that need some healing?
I do. I think fasting definitely has a place, but I think it needs to be from a nourished place. I don't think fasting when you are malnourished is helpful. I think all it does is elevate your cortisol, which is your stress hormones, and, kind of prolong or exacerbate some issues. Some people do feel better, but I think it's about finding the formula that works for you. But I would say being nourished, feasting before fasting, that's been the best. And I know you've used this example countless times, and I often think about it. A lion, when they have a good kill, they're going to feast, and then they're going to fast. Yeah, they're going to fast until their next kill. And I'm not saying that I'm a lion and that's what I'm doing, but I will feast and then I will fast. Most people do fast during the night because they're not eating. Some people even dry fast. They don't sip water or anything. So I don't think there's any fear to be had around it, but I do think it needs to be from a nourished place.
And there may be some benefits to doing it intermittently. And I know that, as you said, you fasted to ovulate because fasting empties the gut of the microbial fermentation process and the plant antigens, chemicals, and goitrogens that are contributing to the damage to every cell of our body. I always think about like hay fever. How many people do you know have hay fever?
I
Like,
used to
and
have it.
it's all plant-based. So it actually turns out that we're allergic to the plant products and then the chemicals that come with it and the fermentation process that comes with it. That is our biggest problem. By simply eliminating plants or not eating as regularly, cook the plants, add the fat, eat less frequently, you may help in many of those particular problems.
Yeah,
Any
agree.
thoughts on salt and how important it is to our diet and our health and wellness?
I think salt is a very individual thing. I do know some people who are salt free that are able to get enough sodium out of their diet of meat and fat. I personally cannot go without salt. I probably have anywhere between 6 and 8 teaspoons of salt a day just in my water. I live in a hot, humid place. I sweat a lot. I'm breastfeeding. I just cannot go without salt. If I go without salt, I end up with severe cramps in my legs. I end up fatigued. I just feel lethargic. If I have the salt, I feel great. I think it's important and it carries a lot of trace minerals. And I think a lot of people, myself included, have a really easy time becoming dehydrated on carnivore because there are no carbohydrates to hang on to the hydration. So sodium acts as your carbohydrate.
Cool. Although I'd like to remind everyone, all cells of all organisms contain sugars, which I think help build up the glycocalyx. And the glycocalyx is a place where your water is stored. And I think of it like a battery. Sodium chloride is critical for batteries' function. And I also think about our evolution. Human beings evolved around salt. And I think it is, they say the salt is critical for all of us. So I'm a big fan of salt. Do you have any favorite salts that you like to use?
I really like the Maldon smoked salt and their regular salt. And I like Redmond's real salt. I don't like the grittiness, but I like the taste of it. It tastes good. That's what I use in my water.
I like the flakiness of Malden. That's my favorite. But I've tried many
Baja,
others.
the Baja Gold. Have you tried
Baja Gold's great. Love it.
That
Celtic
is
salt,
salt.
Himalayan salt, Redmond salt. I mean, there's so many great salts out there. That's the beauty. There's so many great meats, so many great salts. You gotta taste the amazing cuisine of the world. And okay, sometimes I travel to Italy or somewhere else and I have some pasta, pizza, or bread.
Hey,
I don't lose my shirt over it. Italian, but it's you minimize to maximize, eliminate to be the illustrious leader. For someone who's struggling with their health and considering carnivore, what's your first bit of advice to them?
My first bit of advice to them is to encourage them to at least look into it and consider. I didn't want to look into it when my husband first told me about it. I thought it was stupid, but I've been humbled. I've been brought to my knees and I realized that it is the best way forward for me and for many, many other people. I would say plug into a community. I would say listen to people like Dr. Kiltz, the other carnivore doctors that are out there, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Bright, Dr. Baker. Listen to their stories. Listen to how long they've been carnivore for. And then listen to regular people's stories like Maggie from Canada. She's been a carnivore for 60 something years. She's 82 and looks like she's 42. Hello, something is going on there. She's still hopping 4-wire barbed fences like no big deal and herding cattle. Like the girl is amazing. But yeah, I would say plug into stories, listen to testimonials, ask questions, and don't be afraid to try it. You can always go back to what you were doing previous to carnivore, though chances are you're going to feel so good you're not going to want to go back.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's one of those things that it is crazy to think about doing it because we're so brainwashed into a plant protein, low-fat diet. And everyone's told us that red meat causes cancer. But in fact, fatty red raw meat is the healthiest thing you could eat. And everything, the advice that all of our experts have told us is getting us sicker and sicker and sicker. And the world of Ansel Keys really said, oh, fat is bad, eat plants and low-fat meat, when in fact that was the lie that got us all sick in order to put us in a grave without any truth to it. And
Yep.
that's the craziness.
Yep, I agree.
What is the one thing you wish more people understood? Just one thing about this lifestyle. You may have answered it, but jump into it again, I guess.
Yeah, one thing I wish people understood. I would say how simple it is.
Occam's razor.
Yeah, I think we have a tendency to overcomplicate everything, and we overthink everything. It's so simple. Just eat the meat, eat the fat. It will make you feel good. That's it.
Flattered. I always say, this because men like steak in general, I think more so than women, because women are more brainwashed and think salad is best and steak is bad, but it's the opposite. And I always tell women, tell your husband how much you love him. He's the best husband ever.
Mm-hmm.
Feed him steak and eggs every day and make love to him every day. And that's the simplicity of life. And that's it. Yep. And we make it complicated science. Like every time I got to give a talk, they want a bunch of scientific gobbledygook. And I'm like, but it's not science. It's actually just human evolution. We evolved eating meat and less so plants. We figured out how to process plants, and that made them less toxic. But truly, meat unprocessed is the healthiest thing that you can eat. Yep.
Yeah.
Is there anything I haven't asked that you think, God, I wish he asked that?
No, I think you did great. I think you covered all the bases.
Do you have any favorite books, blogs, podcasts, or things that we should all go to and listen and learn from?
Yeah, I would definitely say Anything by You, for sure. The baby's book is amazing. Very, very helpful and insightful. I think Good Fat is good for girls. Good Fat is good for women. And there's
Elizabeth
a thyroid
Bright.
book coming out. Yeah, Dr.
That's
Bright.
Really good. Love Elizabeth Bright.
Yeah, Dr. Baker's book is great.
Carnivore by Dr. Baker. Awesome.
Yes. And Dr. Chafee, Plants Are Trying to Kill You. That's a very insightful one. And that's only 23 minutes long. And, Dr. Berry's got lots of great short clips as well, which are really helpful, especially for someone just starting carnivore. He really breaks it down. You can do carnivore on hot dogs and processed meats if you want to.
What are your thoughts on buying? Like, where do you get your meat? Do you think that's critical? I can't buy like supermarket meat. I got to buy it directly from a regenerative farmer. Is that critical for someone's health and wellness, or we need to start someplace wherever our economic or local abilities to get our meat is today?
Yeah, I think you can do carnivore great within your budget. So if all you can afford is ground beef and eggs from Walmart, then that's what you do. Yeah. We are very fortunate. We have a great farmer connection here. We have two great farmers that we're connected with who both do beautiful beef. And so when we're ready to buy a cow or half a cow or whatever, we just contact them and we're like, hey, we're ready to buy another beef. And that's it. And I find the price per pound is way more affordable to buy in bulk than it is to buy at the grocery store. But you can do a great carnivore with just ground beef and eggs. Look at Bella. She loves ground beef and eggs.
Oh my God. We love Bella and Max. And the beauty, you got to go. What about meetups and going to meetups? And how important do you think that is for our community to get together personally and in person?
I think it changes everything to see people in person, to see them walking the walk, not just talking the talk. Really makes a difference. And it's very profound for me because I get to see the fruit. That's the only time I like fruit. I get to see the fruit from the change in them. The fact that they chose themselves, they prioritize their health, their well-being, and their healing. Yeah. It's like seeing people walk after they've been wheelchair bound. I'm just like, what?
Bill Knott from Alaska and Carrie Mann's story with him is just so inspiring. Yeah. We had the list goes on and on and on. Would you take the Bible or Scientific America to war?
I would take the Bible
Bible all day
every
long.
time.
And
It's the only
ultimately
book that I'm taking to my grave.
and really the scientific stories or the personal stories, because the last I looked, science has kind of gotten us in a twisted barbed wire mess. And if we just go back to our ancient stories of chickens and pigs and cows and okay, you had a little bit of some bread and those sort of things, but the majority of our diet was animal based fatty meat. They saved all the fat. You ate the fat. You cook with the fat,
And that
and
was sacrificed to the Lord because it was the most pleasing aroma. Mm-hmm.
oh my God, it isn't. It is
It
for
is
sure.
the most pleasing aroma. I can see why.
Where can people find you and be inspired, especially those moms to be or moms that want to be, or those that are breastfeeding or wondering, well, wait a minute, can carnivore really be for a pregnant, lactating mom and me, my baby?
Mm-hmm. I have a website, I have a Facebook page, I have a YouTube channel, and I have an Instagram page, all at Real Life Carnivore.
Would you say that carnivore will absolutely help those women that are suffering from infertility? And in some way, the women must lead the men and the family to this destination.
I would say yes, it's very helpful for infertility, and actually, my husband led me to this. So, if he wouldn't have put it in front of me, like I said, I probably wouldn't have listened. And I was hesitant when I first heard about it, but
Well,
it's
what I'm suggesting is the driving force for pregnancy is women.
right.
And this is a place for women to take charge,
Hmm.
is to learn the way.
Yeah.
Yes, men like steak and women don't, but it's time that the women begin to realize that they're lionesses, and we've been lied to, and
Yeah.
we've been domesticated. You could domesticate a wolf and a lion by feeding them plants to become dogs and cats, and the same you could do with humans. We're
Hmm.
not domesticated animals, we're wild type. So I want to lead with your ability to inspire the women to become the carnivores, and then feed your husband as a carnivore, honor him like the lion he is, and make love to him
Yeah, I
and make
agree.
babies.
Well, and as the woman of my home, I am in charge of cooking, and so my husband will eat what is prepared and put in front of him, and I have yet to hear him complain. And
And
I think if more women felt inspired and encouraged that cooking with carnivore can be super duper simple, you can make fancy recipes. Hello, Chris Cooking Nashville, but you can also make super simple recipes. Cook a steak,
right,
some sunny
right.
side up eggs for dipping. It can be very simple and very nourishing. And yeah, when the animal fats start working on those sex hormones, let the lovemaking begin.
And who does most of the shopping for the food in the home?
Me, women.
Women. So
Yeah.
my point is the women need to understand that they have the power, and if they're infertile, pelvic pain, endometriosis, PCOS, uterine fibroids, depression, anxiety, thyroid dysfunction, arthritis, psoriasis, kidney stones, migraines, all of these things are secondary to a plant protein low fat diet. And what we need to see is the women take charge of understanding the power they have to be healthy and well. And
Mhm.
as you have been the example of going from a standard global diet, which is plant protein, low fat based, 3 to 6 meals a day, to a fatty carnivore lifestyle, suddenly you conceived, you're pregnant again and continuing to breastfeed, and you delivered with a midwife. Oh my God, not a doctor. I mean, God, for the first 3.5 million years, what doctor from medical school did we use to deliver a baby?
You didn't use the midwife.
You didn't, right?
Yeah.
And this is the amazing story. So I'm really grateful to you, Rochelle, for being here today and sharing your story. Let's keep following, inspiring men and women, boys and girls, young and old, to understand the carnivore lifestyle is absolute for them and all of us.
Amen, brother.
Amen. Love you, my friend. Thank
Love
you.
you too.
And to
Thank
little
you.
one, oh, the best. Take
I
care,
know.
everyone. Check out Carnivore Conversations, Dr. Kiltz, and share your story. And we look forward to more inspiration every single day. God bless.